Hey beautiful people, in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to make a pattern for this romper. To make this pattern, you're going to need the following items: at least a yard of pattern paper, tailor's chalk and a pencil, a tape measure, a ruler, markers, a paper scissors, and you're also going to need a French curve and an elastic waistband shorts pattern. In a previous video, I showed you how to draft a pattern for an elastic waistband shorts, so check that video out. It's going to be in the cards up top and the description box down below, and come back to this video. You're going to need the following measurements: your bust circumference, which is around the widest part of your bust, your above bust circumference, which is above your bust where you want the romper to sit, your desired length for the top of your romper, your waist circumference, the desired length of the shorts, that's from your navel to where you want your shorts to stop, and you're also gonna need your hip circumference. Oh, and one last thing, you're gonna need your crotch depth, so that's from your navel to your crotch. Also, the measurements that have asterisks beside them won't be used until you're sewing the romper. I still wanted you to take these measurements from now. If you'd like to slow this video down or speed it up, then definitely follow the following instructions. Once you've made your elastic waistband pattern, you're gonna put it on a fresh piece of pattern paper and trace around it. You're gonna do this for the back of the shorts as well as the front of the shorts. For future reference, label your patterns, and I'm labeling mine to say front of elastic waistband romper, and I'm also indicating how much allowance I have on each part of my pattern, especially since I traced from my original elastic waistband shorts pattern. I'm also sure to put how many pieces of this should be cut, as well as the size being small for me. This is good because it gives you notes for future reference, so whenever you're going to be making this romper again, you'll know exactly how much allowance you are working with. We're now going to be extending the outseam of the shorts by 1 inch, and the outseam can also be referred to as the side seam. What you could do is to use your tape measure to make multiple 1-inch marks from your original side seam, and then use your ruler to connect all those marks into a straight line. You can also use your ruler to connect those blank spaces up top. And now, because my ruler is 2 inches wide, I'm gonna use my ruler to extend the hem of my shorts by 2 inches. If you don't have a ruler like this, you could just use your tape measure to make multiple marks 2 inches away from the hem, and use your ruler to connect all the lines. Now I'm using my French curve to just define this line a little bit more because it looked a little bit jaded. And now what I'm doing is to measure the waist of my shorts, and I am finding the center. In this case, that's about 6 inches. What I'm doing now is to establish the darts that I want in my shorts. So now I'm gonna go from each mark that I made, and I'm gonna measure 1/2 inch out from the sides of this line to establish the dart legs. So this dart is gonna be 1 inch wide. So what I'm doing here is to measure and mark 4 inches down from the center line of the front of the shorts and 5 inches down from the center line of the back of the shorts. I'm using my ruler to draw a straight line, and now I'm using my ruler again to connect the bottom of that straight line to the 1/2 inch marks that I made at the sides of the center mark. So that's the dart on the back, and that should be 5 inches long. And now this is the dart on the front, and this should be 4 inches long. Now I can cut my romper shorts from my paper. If you'd like to add pockets to your romper, draw a vertical line that's at least 10 inches long, and then draw a curved line from top to bottom. But first, you're gonna extend the bottom line by at least 2 inches and use your French curve to draw a curved line for the pocket. Honestly, there's no science to this. You could really just replicate exactly what you saw me do there. And what I'm doing right now is to measure and mark 1/2 inch away from the original pocket that I drew, just so that I can add some allowance to my pocket so that when I stitch, I will still have ample space to put my hands, to put my phones, that kind of stuff. I'm labeling my pattern here just for future reference, and we're going to be cutting 4 pieces of this. Now you can cut your pocket from your pattern paper, and what I'm doing here is to just add an extra 1/2 inch along the vertical line of this pocket piece, connecting those marks and cutting the pocket from the pattern paper. Now I'm working on the top of the romper, and what I'm doing is to draw a rectangle. The length of the rectangle should be equal to the desired length that you want your romper to be. So what I'm doing is measuring and marking from that original line at the bottom, and now I'm using my ruler to connect all those marks in a straight line. Now I'm gonna add 3/4 of an inch to the top, and this is for the elastic placement as well as seam allowance to stitch away the raw edges. Once I've made those marks, I'm using my ruler to just connect all of them together. I'm using my ruler to connect all those marks together, and I am adding 1.25 inch allowance to the bottom of this pattern, and that's gonna be for the elastic placement in the waistband. So now we can work on the width of the top of the romper. If your bust is wider than your hips, then make the width of the rectangle your bust circumference divided by 2 plus an extra 2 inches, so you'll have wiggle room in your top. But if your hips are wider than your bust, then make the width of the rectangle your hip circumference divided by 2. And make sure you have an extra 2 inches so you'll have wiggle room. That way your boobs won't feel restricted. And what I'm doing here is to add a 3/4 of an inch allowance to both sides of the top of the romper, and that's gonna be so that we can stitch a French seam when we're actually sewing this romper. So as you can see, I'm using my tape measure to make multiple 3/4 inch marks, and I'm using my ruler now to connect all those marks that I made. And once that's done, I can use my marker to label my pattern. And I'm indicating how much allowance I added to all sides of this pattern just for future reference. And now I can cut the top of my romper pattern from my pattern paper, and you should end up with 4 pieces, 1 for the back, 1 for the front, 1 for the top, and 1 for the pocket. And in my next video, I'm going to be showing you how to actually stitch this romper together. So make sure that you're subscribed to the Quaint Pursuit, and make sure that your notifications are turned on so that you won't miss that upload. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and share it with a friend. You can also follow me on Instagram at QuaintBoss for a daily dose of positive vibes and to see all the clothes I'll be making and working on. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.